My name's Drew Klein. I work here at the university. I'm the, what am I? The classroom technology manager for the university. Handle all of the wonderful computers and projectors and stuff that you guys see here. I've been a audio professional now for going on 14 years. I've kind of done it all where it comes to the audio field. I started out at a place called Can-Am Studios, a major recording studio. Worked there for 2 years doing records for lots of big name acts. Started out getting coffee, went all the way up to engineering records. I worked with Motley Crue, Poison, Nelly Furtado, Jurassic 5, Linkin Park, tons of different people. So I got a good base there, and kind of really fell in love with audio and recording everything. I then from there moved into the production side of things in Hollywood. Production meaning sound for film and video. Worked mostly on television shows. I did a lot of pickup, what they call day play kind of stuff. When somebody was sick, they'd call me in and I'd do whatever was going on. An audio rental and sales house, which is really where I learned a lot of my production knowledge there. And then I ended up back in Delaware and got into live sound, doing live sound for corporate meetings, small scale, even decent size rock concerts, things like that. Audio visual stuff is kind of what landed me here. Basically what I want to go over today with you guys is mostly, I imagine most of you guys are here to learn how to, or to get better sound out of your video recordings. I got a couple tools behind me here, are the things that you can borrow from the university for your productions. I'm gonna go over them basically and plug them in and show you guys a couple little tips and tricks. There's a lot of different cameras out there that we can record onto. There's a lot of different audio recorders, tons of different microphones. The more of the theory, when you have the theory down, then you can kind of move it all over and interchange the gear. Like, gear may be a little different, there may be different switches, different things like that, but the theory is what I kind of want to focus on, and you can kind of go from there. I touched briefly on it, but audio is extremely important to your video projects. Without having good audio, you're back to Charlie Chaplin, or worse, it's just scratched. You can't use it. People say, oh, we can fix it in post. Most of the time you can't, if it's that bad. Or you got to really know what you're doing when on the post side to be able to, to polish a turd, basically. So the best thing you can do is record the audio as raw as possible, so you do have that range to mess with it in post-production. But you also want to take into consideration how much time do you have in post-production. When you're recording audio, what you hear in the room and what your microphone hears, your microphone's going to pick up more things. Like if we take a second and listen in this room, we hear the projector mainly. A lot of times you'll have an air conditioner on. You'll have a maybe a refrigerator in the room if you're doing a kitchen scene or something like that. Anything bassy, there's basic switches on most shotgun microphones, most recorders, most field mixers, called a high pass filter, or a low pass filter. I'm sorry, a low pass filter. When you switch that on, is going to give you an EQ curve. It's going to cut out the bottom end frequencies to a certain point. All of them are different.
Bottom end frequencies meaning what?
Meaning, yeah, meaning bass sounds. If you're near a highway, you probably want to turn that on. You'll get like a like rumbles.
Now these symbols on a mic, that's the line, and then you got the line with the
Exactly.
little hook in, right?
Yeah. So the straight line means no equalization on it.
Okay.
And then when you switch it up to the line, what the line is telling you is that you're cutting off a lot of the real low frequencies, like, oh God, I want to say 30 to like 80 hertz kind of range. Stuff that's just junk, that you don't really need. In music recording, you call it muddying up the track. It's just, there's low end stuff that's not going to register right. But if you don't think it's too bad, record it raw. In Final Cut, in Premiere, and all those, there's high pass filters, there's low pass filters. You just click it on the whole track, and you do the same thing.
So would it be wise to put that filter on if you bring it in Final Cut?
It's kind of your call. I would say yes, if it's a lot of low end in the room, do it here, and then you might need to do it again in Final Cut, really. Anything like this that you can unplug, that you don't really need in that room, unplug it, turn it off. Refrigerators, like, you know, if it's somebody in somebody's house and they got food in there, the refrigerator's good for 2 hours if you don't, you know, if it's unplugged. If it's going to help out your situation, then unplug it. Please ask somebody first. But and the same, there's also the high pass filter, which cuts really high end frequencies. Normally high end frequencies you can deal with. You can tell, you can turn it off, you can get around those. But again, there's switches in Final Cut that turn those on and off. Mic placement is huge. If the microphone is over here and I'm talking, it's going to sound like the microphone's over here. If the microphone's in the back of the room on the camera, it's going to sound like the microphone's on the back of the camera. You want the microphone, a shotgun microphone. The best thing to do with the shotgun microphone is to aim it at somebody's face like there's a tennis ball in front of it. And when that person's talking, you follow them. Another term for this is on access. Microphones have different pickup patterns. There's cardioid, supercardioid, omnidirectional. These different pickup patterns, or omnidirectional is basically open, kind of circular pattern. If you can envision, it would be a pattern basically like this around the microphone. Depending on how loud you turn the gain on your mixer or on your recording device, the pickup pattern is going to be bigger. Cardioid is a space about like this that is coming out from the microphone. So when you're off to one side or the other, it's going to pick up a lot less than when you're in front of it. Supercardioid is really tight. Shotgun microphones are normally either cardioid or supercardioid. And most of the time, like you said, symbols on the microphone, it'll tell you on the microphone what it is.
I have a boom mic, but mine doesn't have any symbols. It's a Sennheiser. I don't know if that makes a difference, but it doesn't have that indication of low pass and high pass.
If you take the model numbers and put them online, you'll be able to tell. It'll tell you if it's cardioid, supercardioid.
Okay. If it's supercardioid, does it not come with those indications, those icons?
No. No, what, the switches?
Right. I don't
No.
have a switch on mine.
It depends on what microphone it is, what model it is.
Maybe I do, it's just not right where you think.
It might be if you have it, if it's a microphone that has a battery compartment, it may actually be in the battery compartment too. Like a little space here with a switch on it.
You know what? I do got one. It's near the on and off switch. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, at the MK66.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's right next to the.
Yeah.
the switch.
Yeah, you know your mic, huh?
I do. There's only in production audio. There's only 10 or 12 mics really worth knowing about. So I kind of know all of those. I've seen most of them. Shotgun microphones, just like lavaliers, the more money that they're worth, the better the more money they cost, the better they are. That doesn't mean that you can't get good audio out of a $100 boom mic. You're not going to get as good audio out of a $100 boom mic that you are out of one that costs $3,000. But it's technique too. So if you have bad technique with a $3,000 microphone, it's still going to suck. So kind of bring me into boom poles. There are tons of different boom poles out there. When you're purchasing a boom pole, a couple of things to look for is lightweight, durability. Some boom poles, like this one, has no sort of internal cabling. The higher end ones do. It's sometimes a good thing, sometimes a bad thing. It depends on what it is. Because that cable inside over use can break, it can snap, it can get tangled up. You get a bad cable inside, then it's not a total loss, because then you do just like you do with a regular boom pole. You just use your cable on the outside. But a lot of the cables are curly Q kind of cables, like telephone cord. You shake it, you can hear it inside. So a boom pole, big thing about boom pole is being quiet. Lightweight and quiet is what you want. So, and ways to test that is to tighten it up and shake it. Let's see how this one is. Man. This thing. There it goes. Pretty noisy boom pole. Another thing with boom poles is your boom op. They do have a lot of rings and stuff on. It's a good idea to tell them to take their rings off. They don't know what they're doing. They get nervous. People start talking. And you're like, click, click, click. All that goes right into the camera. You hear it. Takes no good. Like I said before, if, it's always sad. It's always embarrassing when you, the sound guy, have to tell the director, hey, we got to stop because we screwed up. You know what I mean? And the actors hate it. Nobody, like, especially actors, it's a tough thing, when they're really doing it. You look on TV and you're like, oh, that bozo, like, I could act better than him. It's a tough thing. And especially when you're in the heat of the moment, people are trying to remember their lines. When you do something, it starts pissing people off. And that's the last thing you want to do. A film set should be fun. It should be carefree. You are part of it, being part of the crew, whether you're the cameraman, the director, the sound man, you're all there to make the most comfortable situation for that actor to perform the best they can. Oh, and I'll get into set etiquette a little bit in a minute. Boom pole. This is a shock mount for your boom mic. Not necessary, but a great thing to have. Most boom pole or shotgun mics come with like a standard kind of clip. It's worth the $10 or $15 to buy a shock mount. This isn't the right one for the microphone. If you are going to use one of these, I suggest putting some tape around it. Put some gaff tape on it so it is all one piece. You don't want to drop your mic or somebody else's mic on somebody's head. a pro audio guy has several different shotgun microphones, like the Sennheiser series, like you have. There's short ones that are about this long. Then you get your medium. There's short range, long, medium range, and long range boom mics. I don't know if you've ever seen ones that are real long.
No.
Yeah, there's some that are like the Sennheiser 818 is about this long, and what that's letting you do, it's a super cardioid mic that instead of the pickup being about 8 inches away from, like the sweet spot being about 8 inches away from the microphone, that sweet spot's 1.5 feet away from the microphone.
That's
So,
like news people, don't they?
well, a long range shotgun microphone, what you would use that for is like a wide shot. A lot of times when you see a wide shot, there's somebody off camera on a ladder holding a boom mic way out there. So it's all about getting out of the frame. So, real quick, I see a lot of people. You just put this in, stick it in, and right through like that. It works. You get flopping around. Like I said, when you get into arguments, stuff like that, you start moving it back and forth a lot. Especially this thing's probably never been used, so it's kind of tight. You'll hit the side. Not good. What you can do in the double or the single ones too, if you wrap the rubber bands once and then stick the microphone through, it's a lot tighter. Again, you don't want contact anywhere on these. Especially, you ever seen the wind jammers, are called, the fuzzy sock things? Well, when you have one of those on, it adds weight. Huh? Yeah, the Rycote wind jammers. When you add one of those to it, it adds weight at the bottom. So then you start getting movement on it. They also, there's what they call Zeppelins, which is a big cage that the things go into, and then you have the fuzzy on it. Yeah, they're pretty neat. And the wind jammers, basically what they do is it's just a cage that goes around this, like the big ones. It's a whole like flexible plastic cage that goes around it. And that fuzzy stuff is just like the hair on a stuffed animal is what it is. And why they use that, what that is, it's diffusion. So when wind hits it, the end of a regular microphone, you get the diaphragm at the microphone. When wind hits those, it kind of diffuses the wind as much as possible to keep from breaking out your microphone.
Is that blunt more accurate canceling out wind than just a regular fuzzy?
Supposedly, yeah. Yeah, if you look at the specs, it'll tell you the difference. Like, it might be, like 40% diffusion over 60% diffusion. And the big ones, you can actually get different thickness fuzzies to go around them, too. You can even get ones, I think they're called like rain jammers. They look like a big filter, like your home heater filter, that go around it so you can film in the rain and not damage your equipment. Yeah, they're pretty nice. I've always been scared when somebody asked me to film in the rain, but like, we're using your stuff, right? Okay. Yeah.
They do that on Wipeout. That's your Wipeout, don't they?
Oh yeah.
Because I've seen
Yeah.
them with the audio right here, but then they fall in the water and
Yeah, nowadays there's totally waterproof lavaliers and belt packs and stuff, and just lav somebody up and let them go to town with it. And big productions like that, it's like any other big corporation. They got insurance on all that stuff, so if something gets wrecked, it's already paid for. You know what I mean? Like even low budget stuff, you should normally have like an insurance rider on your project. You know, if it's something that you're spending 10, 15 grand on, and it's called production insurance, is really inexpensive. I think you can get $1 million policy, which is basically just limit liability. But I think they're like $20 a month or something like that. It's like motorcycle insurance. It's not a lot of money, and when you get into, like, if you ever want to rent stuff from rental houses and stuff like that, you pretty much have to have that, or have credit cards that will, you can put the replacement value of that equipment onto your credit card before you take it out the door. But, sorry, different topic. Yeah. So back to the boom pole. There is, like I said, there's a lot of different ones. The quieter, the better. The lighter, the better. But it's price, you know. What can you afford when you're building your kit? Like, and you might be able to afford $100 one, and use it for a little while, and you're like, you know, that boom pole sucks. Or people, you know, if you're hiring somebody, the people that are using, like, man, you know, I keep hearing it click and all that, then you, okay, well, maybe we'll upgrade. Or maybe, you know, were you wearing rings? Was the cable tight when you wrapped it up? Things like that. There's all this stuff. I don't have a lot of my own gear here, but it's like in any other, if you want to call it a hobby or a profession, you start out where you can afford it, and then the more serious you get, the more gear you get, and the cooler it becomes. So when you're wiring up your boom pole, sorry, you want that cable to be tight, but also have room to move. What I typically do, just wrap it around a couple times. Hold a little bit of slack in your hand back here, probably. Nice and tight. It's not moving. You don't hear it. If you have to drop your hand or you have to push out or something, you have this extra cable here. But I kind of want to talk about being on the set etiquette, and responsibilities on the set. As a professional audio engineer, or even, you know, your friends, there's certain things that people kind of expect audio guys to bring. You're responsible for the equipment. Most on professional set, the audio department takes care of the slates, the clappers. They also do time code. When you're dealing in a time code situation, that's normally the audio department's baby. The slates, for the most part, are the time code generators, and then you do what's called jamming to your different devices. You get the cameras, your external audio recorders, all that in sync. Other big things on set, make sure I'm not responsible. Taking notes. Taking good notes is a great thing for your post-production people. The more notes you take, the better off they are. They can look at your notes and say, okay, take 1, 2, and 3 were great for film, but take 2, the audio guy said, there was an airplane coming, or, you know, or the audio guy said, take 4, 5, you know, 4, 5, 6, and 7 were great for him. You can look at that and just totally bypass that clip. If most of the time a video, the assistant director or somebody like that's taking notes on the video side, but they normally aren't hearing your audio. Having full disclosure with the director is key for, again, you don't want to waste anybody's time. If something's going on, so you got a bad buzz, something like that, it may be embarrassing, you know, your temperature all of a sudden goes through the roof, you're sweating, but they'll thank you in the end for not wasting their time. Hey, I have a problem. Hey, there's a plane. Hey, I'm getting Mexican radio over my wireless microphone. It happens. It really does. Oh man, when I worked in LA all the time, you'd be like, like, oh, cut, shoot. Um, uh,
What did you do to fix that?
Not use the wireless microphones or change to a different channel.
Okay.
Most modern wireless microphones, anything that you really should be using are frequency agile, they're called, where you can change the frequencies. So if you do get chatter on a line, move several frequencies away from that. Exactly, like a walkie-talkie, yeah. Different bandwidths and stuff, and wireless mics are a whole other couple hour subject that we could get into. But yeah, you just move it, or say it's not working. We'll stick with the hardwired microphone. What did I say? Sorry guys. Headphones, providing headphones or audio feeds to different things is normally falls on the audio department's thing. If it's a really nice thing to give the director a headphone, $3 headphone splitter. Like if you're doing it on the cheap, if you're recording just into a camera, $3 headphone splitter, an extra $10 pair of headphones, or even whatever. Tell the director, hey, bring a pair of headphones, I'll give you a feed, so they can listen to what's going on, because part of the performance is the audio. When you're operating a boom, when you're operating anything, don't just look at the levels and say, oh, they're good. It's always really nice and reassuring to have that. There's so many different... Have the audio so you can listen to, exactly what's going on. That's going to give you the difference between good audio and giving somebody the tapes and not knowing what's going on. And if you care at all about it, that's going to drive you crazy. Like, oh, I have no idea what it sounded like, because you can look at audio levels and, hey, they look good, but it could be because you're getting a buzz. Why you want big headphones is to cancel out outside noises. So you're hearing mainly what's going on here. You're cutting out the environment and you're listening to the microphone. A director, what they call Video Village, where the video guys are sending all their stuff to, where like assistant directors and stuff are hanging out. It's scratch audio. It doesn't really matter. They're listening for content, not quality. They're listening to make sure Will Smith got his lines right. They're not listening to the refrigerator running. They even on real sets they have things called earbuds. You may have seen them on like cop shows and stuff. They're like hearing aids that you can send. The audio guy will send a feed from his recorder out to those earbuds, and people all over the set are wearing them just to hear what's going on, to make sure they're all in the loop on stuff. Another thing on set, a big thing is to, when you do get hired or you're volunteering to help, is to have a discussion before you get on set, not just bring what you think is necessary. Like, hey, I'm bringing my boom pole, I'm bringing a wireless mic. Do you need power? A lot of times, smaller productions, for some reason, people expect the audio department to bring power or to provide power like that. Having a 2-minute discussion can cover your ass, basically. And when you get on set, your expectations, you've already explained or discussed your expectations from your employer. You guys know exactly what you're bringing to set or bringing to the table and what everybody else is. And then power. Let's talk about power. Knowing your location is key. If you don't know your location, you can't scout it out, to bring options. Have 100 foot of power cables with you. Have as much battery power as you can. You don't want, with a $2 9-volt battery killing your time. Like, oh, I got to go to 7-Eleven because my lavalier battery just ran out. You want to have extras. When it comes to wireless mics, around here especially, when I have important stuff, I change the batteries all the time. The microphones have indicator levels on them. After it gets down past the first mark, if I turn it on and it's already a mark down, I switch the batteries. Most typically, wireless microphones will last 10 hours. They say they last 10 hours on a set of batteries. I wouldn't really go by that. If you give them maybe 8 hours, the microphone or the batteries inside microphones, if you remember to turn them on and off, they'll last a long time. But always have a backup. If you're supplying power to other people, or you have not a field mixer, you got a regular studio mixer, and you have multiple microphones, if you're supplying power for that, have a backup, or give yourself time. Like if you know that you have enough run time for 4 hours, expect to only actually run it for 3 hours. Say, I only have 3 hours of time. That way, you're not the guy that's running out of juice. Other things on set. You guys ever heard of lights, camera, action? How much set time anybody's ever had in this room. But one of the things you'll hear, which is kind of an old thing that carries over nowadays, it's not as important, but it's still important, is the sound department, sound guy, whether you're by yourself or with a crew. Sound speed is a call. Like the director will call, action. The camera will say, camera speed, audio speed. Okay, action. Well, it started way back in the day. Audio, when you're recording on reel-to-reels and stuff like that, it takes a second to get the reel-to-reels up to the actual recording speed. The same with film cameras. It takes a second, maybe 2 seconds to get that camera up and running to the right speed for recording. And it's basically like a ready, set, go. Like basically calling out at this point with digital stuff. Audio recorders, for the most part nowadays, a decent audio recorder does pre-record, where you can set it so it's recording all the time, and you can go back 10 seconds before you actually hit that record button and capture all that, which is really nice. So the speed thing doesn't come in play anymore, but it's really, hey, are you ready? Are you paying attention? Okay, everybody's paying attention. Let's go. What else have we got? Also, part of your discussions before you get into a project should also be, are you expecting anything from me on the post end? Am I handing it off to a competent sound editor or editor, or do you need me to be responsible if there is a mistake? Can I try to help you fix it, or are you expecting me to fix it? All that kind of stuff is good to have your expectations up and running. Recording, called gain structure. Gain structure is signal to noise ratio. Every microphone, all the electronics have a noise ratio. Your signal is the volume that's coming from your microphone going into your recording devices. If it's too high, you're going to get what's called clipping, where everybody's heard distorted audio before. You don't want that. That's awful. That's sound take, no good. If it's too low, what you get is a big noise floor. And And in most gear, it'll tell you, if you really read the specs, it'll tell you in noise floor, like plus minus 10 dB noise floor. It'll tell you that. So if there's no microphone plugged into it at all, what that means is when there's no microphone plugged into it at all, you're still going to get like 10 decibels of noise coming just from the recorder itself. And when you start adding other microphones, stuff like that, that goes up. So you want a nice strong level without going over. Something that I normally do if I have the luxury of doing it is recording on both channels of your recording device, and having one channel lower, 5 decibels lower. You have, like, say, when you're recording, when you're recording in production, it's normally not stereo recording. You know, you want to hit both sides of your recording device, but really what you're doing is 2-channel mono recording. You have one microphone and you're sending it to the left side and the right side. So what I always do is I take my left side and make that my master track. Basically, that's my goal, is to make that one perfect. You take your right and you bring it down 5 decibels, 5 steps lower than your left, which covers you from fights, people screaming, car doors slamming, stuff like that. If you misjudge on your left track and it goes over and it clips, it distorts, most of the time that 5 decibels is going to save your ass and keep it so it's usable audio. And then you mark that in your notes. Yes?
I use a Beach Tech.
Okay.
And on a Beach Tech, you have the option of the line mic.
Mm-hmm.
Stereo mono.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm using put the XLR in let's say the right track,
Mm-hmm.
I usually switch that to mono. So you're saying that put on stereo.
Okay. So if you put it in your right track and you switch it to mono, on your camera, you're only recording on the right channel.
Right.
If you switch it to stereo, you're going in your right channel. When you switch that to stereo, it's hitting the right and the left on your mixer or on your recording device.
Okay.
Okay? So
one side, right?
one input, 2 outputs is and that it's kind of a weird concept to understand.
I was trying to put my equipment in, man.
And you can, and actually I planned on giving you guys my cards, but they're upstairs. But I'll give you my contact info. My office is upstairs. I'd be more than happy. People's 230. I'd be more than happy to take your equipment and really show you exactly what to do with your stuff, or how I would set it up anyway. I can't say exactly what to do with it, 'cause you might think I'm full of nonsense, but so that's what you're doing. And when you hit both channels of your camera, it's the same audio. It's not 2 different microphones. It's one microphone hitting both channels. So if you take one and back it down a little bit, either on your Beach Tech, I forget what the Beach Tech, I think they just do the input. They don't do output attenuation. I think it's just input.
Input meaning you just put the XLR.
No, the volume knobs on the Beach Tech are to suppress the audio going into them, or attenuate, make it louder or softer, the audio going in, not the output. The output is just a fixed liner mic level. And liner mic, if you don't know what that means, is okay. Then yeah, no, yeah. Well, line level is standard. It's standard, mostly 50 decibels louder than mic level. Mic levels are low, and so when a line level source would be a computer, a soundboard from a rock show, a boombox, something like that. Mic level would be a handheld microphone, a boom pole. There's mic level, and then a lot of times too you'll say mic plus 48, and that's phantom power. If you guys all know what phantom power is, which is the power to power certain microphones. And that's all it is. If you try to plug a line level source into a mic level input, you're going to get peaked out. It's going to go sound like crazy. And if you plug a mic into a line level source, it'll be like really faint or you won't hear it at all. So that's a good troubleshooting tip right there. Make sure your switches are switched right, and you know what input and output levels you want it to be. And then the same on your camera, you have those same switches again. So happens to everybody. Plug it in, you've done it 1,000 times, and you're like, what's going on? I don't know. We got to shoot. Simple things to check. And dynamic range is basically, that's the term that I should be using for with peaking and stuff. Your dynamic range from the lowest source to your lowest input of being audible, a whisper to a scream. You know what I mean? You want to have that dynamic range there without peaking your microphones.
I did want to ask you about ADR.
Okay. ADR. Oh, great. Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. ADR, for everybody that doesn't know, ADR is a term used for ADR, additional, it's like additional recording. Basically, when sound department screws up, you have an ADR situation. Hopefully I've given you a couple tips to try not to get the ADR situation. But ADR happens a lot of times, like movie Castaway. 99% of the audio that was done on the island, they could not use because of the bass from the ocean. That's all you could hear, the background noise. So they had to do the whole thing in the studio. Scorpion King was another one. And a lot of like battle scenes, stuff like that, like it's just out of control, and if you're not paying attention, you know, stuff gets screwed up, or, you know, who knows, like the inputs of the camera all of a sudden go all haywire on you. ADR, the best thing to do is to try to use the same exact equipment, as long as it's not that piece of equipment that malfunctioned. To use that same thing, you know, if you use the boom, use that boom microphone again, just like you were doing it on set. If you were using a lav, try to get the same exact lav, because lavs are going to sound different. Boom microphones are going to sound different. You want that. The goal in ADR is to not have your audience know that you screwed it up. Yeah, that's a tricky situation. You know, ADR is, there's so many variables, you know, without knowing the exact situation. I don't know how much more of that I can get into.
What do you mean so many variables?
Why are you in an ADR situation? You know what I mean? You know, was it because, you know, the bass in the room was too high? Was it because, you know, the person, you know, the guy off set was coughing, or, you know, what was it? You know, why are you recording that over again? If it's something like the guy was coughing, then that's not too bad, because you use the same equipment. You get the actor to watch the video as it's happening and try to recreate it.
It's just, when I think of ADR, and then I start looking at a show or a movie, when you see like a car scene where the audio is so clear, it's like you don't even hear anything but the dialogue. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, not even a low, anything else.
In that situation, what you're doing, what you should be doing, is having a what you call a scratch audio track. You try to record everything. You know, if it doesn't turn out, you still have what's going on. You have that dialogue and everything, so you can go back in and try to match it exactly in a studio environment, in a controlled environment. But like I said, in a car kind of situation, there's different techniques, lavs, stuff like that, that you try to do so you get the right audio the first time. Well, I hope that kind of.
It does in a way. It's just I'm just thinking about the audio. Looking at movies and stuff.
Yeah.
It's like they hit it with noise reduction or something. And
All that stuff. I mean, Universal Studios has a whole building, the Alfred Hitchcock building, that's got 37 different studios that are all for ADR recording. Each room has $100,000 mixing console, you know, $100,000 booth that they've put in there. You know, it's just, it's a whole different level, man. You know, it's a whole different level. But those guys, like when you have an engineer that has to do ADR for something, they're using the same equipment they used. So that's why if you ever are in a situation where you know that you want to do ADR, like a crazy car scene or something like that, or something where you just a scene that's just way wide, you still run audio, you still run so you can have that capture scratch, you know, that
okay.
you know you can kind of lip sync on it back to your ADR stuff. And it gets tricky, you know, timing, all that. That brings me to another point about slates. A lot of times in low budget stuff, people just don't use it. They don't use clappers, they don't use anything. Especially if you're recording on an external device, like one of these microphone or one of these recorders, and your primary source isn't your camera. Having a slate, having somebody do this, having something where you can time the audio and video and sync it. Clipboard, you know, it's $3 clipboard or whatever. Clap it, smack, anything like that. Even, you know, like I said, do that. That way the sound guy or the post guy has something to sync all that up to. Whether you're doing the post or Tato is doing the post or this guy, you know. That's what I always, when I'm on set doing stuff, I always think of the editor, trying to make his job easy as possible. Oh, I would hope that he would want to do that for me. Most of the time, I've never met those guys, but I always hope that they're happy with me. A lot of people are using the DSLRs now, which primarily the audio sucks on them right now. Primarily. So it's a good reason to have another recorder. The best thing to do in that situation to me is to send audio to both. If you can't, you at least have the microphone on the camera running, even though you know it's not going to be good. You try to make it as good as possible. Set your levels accordingly. But go back here. That way you can take that audio pretty easy, actually, and just slap it in, sync it up with the audio that was on your videotape, and you're good to go.
You know, I was looking at a video. I can't think of the guy's name. He had a tutorial on some type of software where you can record audio through 7D.
Mm-hmm.
And this program is synced up his clean audio. What's it called? Pluralize. Yeah, Pluralize. Would you recommend that? Pluralize?
I don't know anything about it. So I can't recommend it, but it's probably pretty cool.
It's like a $100 plugin.
It's on
Premiere CS 5.5 and Adobe Final Cut X. So use it now.
And what's it do? It's just a syncing tool?
It's just a syncing tool.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can do that with a $3 clipboard. I mean, really, like, you get somebody to clap. If you have somebody that's doing scene markers and stuff like that, if you're doing a production that lasts more than a couple of days, you're going to have that, or you should suggest that anyway, to keep all your stuff. Any organization you can do on set is going to make the posts happen that much better, that much easier, that much quicker. And everybody, you know, once it's done filming, everybody's on your heels going, when's it going to be done? When's it going to be done? What's going on? When's it going to be done? So having that, there, you just saved yourself $100 by getting a $2 clipboard. If you've ever messed with video editing before, you'll know how easy it can be if you have that marker to hit. In a Final Cut, you can get it down to like the second, right? Like frame by frame, syncing the audio and the video. You have the first level of audio, an audio crew, if you will, is what you call E&G. It's one guy, microphone, maybe two microphones. You're doing the whole thing. You're running the microphones, you're running the mixer, you're listening to the audio. Yeah. Engineer, probably. I don't know. That's the term used when it's a solo man project. And
I've seen that on just shopping around B&H. I've seen it.
yeah, there's E&G mixers, they'll call them, like the bags, like the Porta Brace bags. They'll call them E&G bags, and that's basically a mixer that the microphone operator can wear. In an E&G setup, what I would do as an E&G guy, boom pole, mixer, like with this gear, I'd have this mixer on me here, so I can adjust the levels here, and then I'm sending the audio to my recording source. So on your guys' level right now, a lot of it is going to be E&G level. So you want to come in, man? You can come in. Okay.
What's the difference between a field mixer and, let's say, a test?
Well, this Tascam's a recorder. So a field mixer is an in-between buffer, in between your microphone and your recorder. This can be a field mixer. Field mixer means battery powered. A regular mixer, studio mixer, whatever you want to call it, is DC powered. AC powered, excuse me. So when it says field mixer, you can put batteries in it. And why you want that, why you would want that is to be able to adjust on the fly.
Can't you adjust the test?
You can, but look at that. You know what I mean? Are you going to be able to have that hanging around your waist and adjust the audio on that while you're holding one hand like this with the boom pole? No. That's why you want a field mixer with big knobs and stuff on it, where you can be like, I want to tweak this down just a little bit because I think this guy's getting ready to scream. Oh. And that happens a lot.
So you'll have one hand,
Yeah.
the other hand.
Sure. You would rather not, like most of you should have two hands on your boom pole, but who knows what's going on. So you're doing this, Chad's getting angry. I'm gonna go like this. I'm gonna sneak it down just a little bit, be back up. You know what I mean? You can do that on the fly. If you don't have a mixer in between, then it makes it more challenging. Then you're having to go back to the camera. You're having to say, do over. I go back to the camera, or you're hoping that your other channel that I told you to put lower catches it.
Now I see.
You see that? Yeah.
Messing with the messing with that, and you're like,
Yeah.
all of a sudden the signal goes,
Yeah. Yeah. This thing,
it's so tiny,
you're trying to pay attention.
Yeah.
You reach in your bag or, on your shoulder or something, you accidentally hit something, stop your recording. That's why having a mixer is a good thing. A lot of times. When I'm doing stuff, when I know it's going to be indoors, I have a 6-channel Behringer mixer that I have sitting over here or something. That you can do that with. Unfortunately, I don't have a field mixer. They're expensive.
Yeah.
This guy is the cheapest one I've ever seen, and it's not really a field mixer. This is a USB pre, but it takes a 9-volt battery. The only bummer about this is that it's a 1/4 inch out. So if you're going back into your camera, you got to have a 1/4 inch to XLR cable rather than just a standard XLR cable, which is, if you guys don't know, XLR cables are the standard microphone cables. 1/4 inch cable would be more of like, guitar cables. They're called TRS, tip ring sleeve cables. You'll see a couple of different headphone cables. Headphone cables nowadays are normally the Stereo Mini, the 3.5 millimeter or 1/8 inch cables. Those are pretty much the 3 different kind of jacks you'll be dealing with when you're recording. Mini jack. Yeah. One of the big things you want to do in production is to cover your butt. So if you can record on 2 sources, you record on 3 sources, whatever you feel comfortable with or whatever you can afford to do. Pro guys always record on 2 different sources. You always have the scratch. You always record into a camera, a scratch, and you're always recording to your main source. A lot of guys, depending on how the past has treated them, also have an extra, like their old recorder that they're using. You might have for a long time, when people just started to go over to digital, big guys would buy the new $10,000 digital recorder, but still be running DAT tapes was the industry standard for a long time, the digital audio tapes. They'd be running their big digital stuff, but still running tape just to make sure that the hard drive didn't crash, or just to make sure, like, those days are kind of over, you know what I mean? Like, the stuff's pretty solid now. But like Chad said, having, if you're going to have your Mac on set, it's 1 cable. You could, out of your mixer, if it's a controlled environment, you buy a $10 splitter, and there you go. You have a whole nother recording device that's recording. But it also is logistically, like, if you're E&G, if you're the only guy, are you going to be close enough to your Mac to hit record? Or are you going to trust in the cameraman to hit record on your stuff too? You know what I mean? Like, there's so many variables. There really is. Brings me to tone. Have you guys ever heard of tone? Color bars. Very important. Tone is, most mixers, you can send what's called a tone level. Boop. I'm sure you've heard that sound before. It's a 1K tone. And what that is, you can use that for 2 things. One, to adjust your levels. You can kind of see, like, okay, I'm sending it out halfway. My output volume's halfway. I'm hitting the camera halfway. I know that they're talking to each other. My recording source and my mixing source are seeing the same level. It's normally a good indication of that you're on the right track. It also helps the engineer, the post-production guy, and the same with on a video camera when you put the video bars up. If for some reason your sound, that camera is out of whack with Final Cut, it allows you to have a standard starting point. You can say, okay, well, this 1K tone, when I bring it into Final Cut, sounds weird, so I know the whole rest of the recording is going to sound weird. When I make that 1K tone sound right, the rest of your recording should be on track. The same with color bars. If you bring it up, I have this camera I imported into Final Cut, and the color bars, my pink, all of a sudden, the pink on the color bars is green for some reason. Well, you're screwed. But if it's just a little bit off, that pink is more of a red, then you can color correct, or you're going to need to color correct from the get-go because it's not standard. The other thing about tone is room tone. That would solve your problem. It's a good idea when you are in a noisy environment to record a couple minutes of silence, just your atmosphere. The cars driving by, the hum of the projector. That way, in post, because you've cut it up, you have cars, clips, different cars coming through. If you have 2 minutes of cars riding by in your final product, you can take that 2 minutes and run it underneath of all your dialogue and build up so it sounds more seamless.
Right.
You're hiding, you're masking your cuts because you have that atmospheric sound recorded. And excuse me for not knowing, I normally know this, or I used to know this. Voice frequencies, when you look at the frequency spectrum that we can hear, a voice is like 80 hertz to 2400, or not even that, like 1500 kilohertz, okay? It's a frequency spectrum. Cars are lower, airplanes lower, birds chirping higher. If you cut those sounds out, you can still have the core of the voice with getting rid of, you can say you're, okay. Your frequency spectrum looks like this. Low, high. Voice hits in here somewhere. What you're doing with your low pass filters, cars go from probably here, subsonic, so where you can't even, you know how you could like feel a truck coming kind of deal. It's producing sound, we just don't pick it up. Cars coming in, their frequency is probably from there to like here, say. If you cut from here to here, you're losing the majority of your car sound, but you're still keeping the majority of your voice sound.
Okay.
You understand that? And the same on the on this end. When you're putting those filters on, you're cutting out the junk. Like you can do that with, I don't know if you do photography at all. You can do that with light spectrums too. Like if you're shooting, like all your peaks and stuff are in the middle of your light spectrum, you can cut out the bottom, you can cut out the top, and you get a more vivid picture. It's the same kind of thing. It's all, I mean, that stuff is deep, you know what I mean? Like it's heavy kind of stuff, and you can really get into, it's kind of the mathematical side of audio and stuff, and it's a lot of just either going with the flow and feeling it, or learning what you need to do in certain situations. But in 48-hour Film Fest, you're right. You don't have any time. You're going to be around cars. Put that high pass filter on. Boom, right away you're going to cut out some of it. Try to record, have that atmospheric stuff in there so you can mask that choppy car sound with a more level traffic. Closer microphoning, not using the onboard camera audio because it was fast. Get that mic as close as possible to that. You're going to have the background noise. The other thing to do is to have it play into your shot. You know, if you're shooting, and it's okay, and directors, as long as you don't overstep your bounds and aren't directing the total thing. If me and you are talking on the side of the road, but there's no, and you have lots of road noise, and you don't have the road in the shot at all, that's weird. That's weird. You know what I mean? Like, why is there a truck rolling by or something like that? If you establish in your shot that you're next to a road, then you're like, okay, they're next to a busy road. Even if it's an establishing shot, like a dude walking across the street, stopping to talk to another guy. Okay, you now know as a viewer that they're having a conversation next to the road, not up against some building in an alleyway. That helps. That's part of sound designing, and that's also something that a director may not look into.
You tell the story, though. That's all part of the story.
Right, it is. But when you're a director or, you know, a producer or whatever, whoever's camera op, they have their certain job that they're focused on. You know what I mean? And if something looks weird, say something. You know, and feel that out. Like they're going to do like parametric EQ. And what a parametric EQ looks like is, so this is our frequency spectrum. A parametric EQ is basically a bunch of sliders, a bunch of control. Over the course of your whole frequency spectrum, you can cut this one down this high, leave these two up, cut this one down low, cut that one down low, cut this one down low, or even boost this one or something, right? Yeah. That's trying to take the frequencies of the car out and boost the frequencies of the voice. It's Band-Aids, Band-Aid fixes. If you listen to the stuff that I've talked about, you hopefully don't have to try to do those Band-Aid fixes. You know what I mean? Like if you record it right the first time, you don't have to do all that on the end. You can see we're getting audio levels. Where's that audio level coming from? I got this plugged in. It's coming from up here. Scratching the microphones. You don't hear anything back, like you're not seeing levels back here. My boom mic's not working. Oh, troubleshooting stuff. Okay, why isn't my boom mic not working? I got a battery in it. It's all plugged in. Looks good. I'm not sure yet. But let's look at, it's plugged in here. Switches, XLR, mic attenuation. Attenuation is, it's a pad. It's like a volume control. Attenuation is typically, most of the time it'll tell you, but like 10 or 15 decibels lower. Okay. And decibels, if you guys don't know, are just a measurement of the audio signal.
Don't you always wonder around 12?
12 on the cameras is considered unity gain, which is supposed to be 0, and that's supposed to give you the most dynamic range. 12 is normally a good spot to get your level. If you're putting tone into the camera, 12 is probably the sweet spot for your tone to come in. On this one, yeah, there's your phantom power up front, which it's off. I will turn those on. Channel 1, 2, attenuation on or off.
You want that on, right?
You want that? No, probably not. Yeah, line or mic level. Channel 1 or both channels. So that is like your mono stereo switch on your Beach Tech. You know what I mean? Or that is turning on one channel or both channels. Okay. I'm not sure. You'll figure it out. So we're still getting audio levels. It's an onboard camera. So in the menu, oh,
right underneath the handle.
Yeah, there's a mic attenuation switch up there too. In here, you go down to audio setup, audio set normal. I play around with these things. XLR input, it's off. So right there, boom. Now we're getting some sort of levels. It's not here anymore. Is it here? Yeah. There we go. Cool. So now you're getting it. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Say, you don't have tone. You have this exact setup, which you can.
Tone with those bars, right?
The boop, yeah, that. You don't have a mixer. We're doing this, which is what you can get from Nextdoor.
Okay.
A good way to see your dynamic range is to be loud in front of your microphone, to know you're not gonna. You think, okay, well, this is supposed to be, you know, a shot of Larry walking through the park talking to himself. Okay, he's not gonna be screaming. He's gonna be talking. Let's talk loud. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Hey, hey, hey. Larry's probably not gonna talk this loud, but I'm talking this loud directly into the microphone, even closer than I would be, to know that I'm not going to go over. Now the normal level is going to be about here. La 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 la. I like ham and cheese. Blah blah blah. That's right around 0, right around halfway.
Okay.
Your 12 mark, right?
That big white ball, is that?
That's
is that the 12 mark?
that's representing your 0 or your 12.
Okay.
Yeah. So at a normal speaking level, proper distance, you're hitting right about your sweet spot. I know you've seen people on stages, rock concerts, stuff like that. Check, check, 1, 2, 1, 2. That's what they're doing. They're testing. Headphones, a good pair of headphones, 1, encompass your whole ear. 2, are the price you can afford. 3, have a relatively flat frequency response. Okay? The Bose, the reason Bose sound good, the reason they're so small, they're compact, they're crazy, Bose have frequency curves built into them already. As an audio engineer, you don't really want that because that's not a true representation of what your microphone sounds like. It's what it has on it. All Bose stuff is EQ'd already to make music sound good mostly.
You don't have to do it.
Right. As an audio engineer, you don't want that. But yes, you could buy a $20 pair of headphones that are great. You know, I happen to buy a pair that are $160,
There you go.
but I've had them for 12 years. You know what I mean? Yeah. Check, check, 1, 2, 1, 2. Check, check. Cool. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2. Now I'm going to tell you why you got the headphones on. I'm going to do on access and off access. Chad, can you count to 10 for me?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Hear the difference when I change the microphone?
You know,
Oh,
I still get this.
yeah. That's a room.
Are we crossing the power cable of the camera?
Nope. It's running on battery.
Then I've heard that that's what you'll get sick.
What that sounds like is. Here, can you count to 10 for me?
1, 2.
Don't look at the mic. Look at me.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Hear the difference? There's a. So there's the sweet spot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Move the microphone. 1, 2, 3, 4. Move it back. 2, 3. Okay. So, and you'll know that now that you guys have heard it, there's a difference. Is off access acceptable? It is if it stays off access. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? If it's slightly off, if, you know, Cousin Larry is boom mopping and he's scratching his butt at the time of that whole take, he's slightly off a little bit. As long as he stays off, it's okay, because then you can just adjust the volume a little bit as long as it's slightly off. But if it's all over the place, you're going to be like, what's going on? Like, it's going to sound weird. So when you're boom mopping, it can be long. Like on a pro set, 10-hour days is what you do. Luckily, most of the time you're standing around eating, waiting for them to like change the camera around and stuff. It's pretty awesome. Yeah, craft services is definitely your friend. What's it? Yeah. Well, they actually make, you know, like sports fishermen, like the belts.